Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back to Granny's Place. I'm so glad you could join me again here for some stories today. Today we're going to be going back to a book that we started. It's called The Bible in Pictures for Little Eyes. And as you can see, this book is falling apart. So we just read each page. And it's a storybook that my mom read to us when we were kids, and I read to my own children when they were about your age. So I'm very excited that we can read this book once again together, page by page. Do you see the high building the men are making? Why are they making the high building? They're making it because they do not like God. They want to make a high building to prove that they are very great. They think that they are greater than God. God does not like this. He will not let them make the building. He will make them all talk so funny that they cannot understand each other. They will not be able to tell what their friends are saying. Then they will stop building the tall tower because they cannot talk to each other and cannot tell each other how to help. This building is called the Tower of Babel. Now for the questions. What are the people building? Why are they building it? What will God do? I hope you could answer those questions. Here is a picture of a very important man. His name is Abram. Sometimes he's called Abraham. Abraham is a very good friend of God. God loves him and he loves God. God told him to take a long, long trip, to go far, far away and live there the rest of his life with his wife and his helpers and his camels and his sheep and his cows. Abraham said yes to God. He told God he would go wherever God wanted him to go. Abraham loves God. He is God's friend. Now, see if you can answer these questions. What is the man's name? It's Abraham. What did God tell him to do? God told him to go away on a long trip, far from his home. Did Abraham do what God said? Yes, he obeyed God and went on that long trip. Abraham is talking to his friend whose name is Lot. They are talking about where to live. Abraham has many sheep and so does Lot. Sheep eat grass for their breakfast and lunch and supper. There is not enough grass here for Abraham's sheep and Lot's sheep too. Abraham is saying to Lot, there isn't enough grass here for all our sheep. Only one of us should live here. One of us should go somewhere else to live where there is more grass. You go where you want to live, and I'll take my sheep and live somewhere else. Lot is telling Abraham that he wants to live where the grass is long and green and best, so that his sheep will have plenty to eat. He wants the best grass. Lot is being selfish. He wants the best things for himself. After Lot has taken his sheep and gone away, God will give the best land to Abraham. Abraham isn't selfish, so God will give him the best. Who are these two men? Abraham and Lot. And what are they talking about? They're talking about where they will live and where their sheep will graze. And what did they decide? Lot decided he wanted the best land. And so Abraham took his sheep and went the other way. What will God tell Abraham? God will tell Abraham that he will take care of him and give him the best land. Abraham is sad. He is sad because he has no children. He needs a little boy. He talked to God about this. He asked God to give him a son. God tells Abraham to come outside with him and look up into the sky at night and count the stars. But Abraham can't count them. There are too many to count, God says. Abraham, I am going to give you a little boy. And when he grows up, he will have children. And pretty soon, there will be so many children that you won't be able to count them. You can't count the stars, and you won't be able to count all the children and their children that I will give you. Now Abraham is happy because God will give him a little baby boy. God is glad because Abraham believed him. Abraham knows that God will not fool him. He knows God will do just what he says. In this picture, what is Abraham looking at? He's looking at the millions of stars in the sky. And how many children did God say he would give Abraham? Oh, there would be so many children that he would not be able to count them. Did Abraham believe God? Yes, he believed God with all his heart. Now Abraham has become very old. See how old he is. Sarah, his wife, is old too. They are too old to have a baby. But God promised that he would give them a little boy. 3 men have come to visit Abraham. There they are. When Abraham saw the 3 men, he ran to meet them, even though he was so old and the afternoon was so hot. Abraham knew that the 3 men had come to visit him from heaven. He asked them to come and eat with him, and they did. They had a picnic under the trees. These men told Abraham that Sarah, his wife, was going to have a little baby. Sarah is laughing because she does not believe that God can give her a baby. But God will do just as he said. Soon, God will give a baby boy to Abraham and Sarah. How happy they will be then. The baby's name will be Isaac. Now for the questions. Where did these 3 men come from? They came from heaven. What did these men tell Abraham? They told him that Abraham and Sarah would have a baby boy even though they were old. Why is Sarah laughing? Well, she can't imagine having a baby when she was old. God gave Abraham a little boy, just like he promised. Now, in this picture, you can see that the baby has grown to be a big boy. He is with his father Abraham, and his father is very sorry. Do you know why the father is sad? I will tell you why. It's because God has told Abraham to bring Isaac here and put him on an altar and kill him. God wants to know if Abraham loves God best or loves his boy best. Abraham loves his boy very, very much, but of course, he loves God the best of all. Soon Abraham will take out his knife to kill his dear son. Then, suddenly, God will call to Abraham and say, "Stop! Stop, Abraham! Don't do it! Don't hurt your son! Look behind you!" And Abraham will look and see a lamb caught in some bushes. "Kill the lamb instead," God will say. "Don't kill your son. I know now that you love me." The lamb will die so that Abraham's big boy can come home again with his father. And now the father is glad. What did God tell Abraham to do? God told Abraham to kill his son. God did that as a test. That's why, to see if Abraham loved God the most. And who did Abraham love most, God or his dear boy? He showed that he loved God the most. And then it says, who do you love best? And our answer should always be, we love God the best. Well, we'll keep reading more Bible stories the next time we're together. And now we're going to read a book that I found. And I know you're going to love this book too. It's called Winnie the Pooh, One Special Tree. One very hot, very dry day in the middle of a summer that had been filled with hot, dry days, Winnie the Pooh had an idea. Actually, it was the same idea he had the afternoon before and the afternoon before that. "I think I'll go and sit in the shade of my favorite tree," Pooh said. Yes, he nodded, agreeing wholeheartedly with himself. That seems like a very good thing for a bear to do on a day like today. Now, if a bear happened to doze off just a little when he was leaning against the trunk of his favorite tree, well, that was just the way it was with bears and favorite trees, especially when the bear was drowsy from the heat and rather larger than usual, having had a rather larger than usual midday meal. And if that same bear happened to snore a little or even quite a lot, his favorite tree could be counted on not to mind. When Pooh woke up, it was some time later and he was no longer leaning. He was lying on his back. There he is, staring straight up through the leaves to the sky. Pooh was confused, not because he had tipped over in his sleep. That happened all the time. But because the leaves on his favorite tree looked, well, there was really no polite way to put it. They looked very bad. They looked brownish and droopy instead of greenish and glossy. It wasn't at all usual. It was, in fact, a mystery. And Pooh thought he might know just the rabbit to solve it. Rabbit was carrying his watering can back and forth around his thirsty garden when Pooh arrived. "I can't remember the last time it rained," Rabbit said to Pooh. "You can't?" said Pooh. "No," said Rabbit. "Can you?" "Well, no," said Pooh, "but that's not why I'm here." "Oh, you have a reason for being here?" said Rabbit. Pooh had to think quite hard for a moment, but then he remembered. "I'm here because I'm worried about my favorite tree." Rabbit went to look at the tree with Pooh. Rabbit walked around the trunk several times, muttering to himself. Then he backed up and squinted at the tree from a distance. Finally, at Pooh's suggestion, Rabbit stretched out on his back and gazed up at the leaves. Pooh waited patiently, and just when it appeared that a bear might doze off for a second time in a single afternoon, Rabbit spoke. "This tree looks just the way my vegetables look when they don't get enough water," Rabbit said. "Oh, perhaps we could give it some water," Pooh suggested. "Yes," said Rabbit, looking at his watering can and then looking at the enormous tree. "But I think we're going to need some help." Pooh and Rabbit set out to find some more friends to help them help Pooh's favorite tree. They stopped at Owl's house first. "I know just the tree you're talking about," Owl said. "I like to sit in the tip-top branches of that very tree and watch the sun rise over the 100-acre wood. It's a particularly fine place to think about the bigness and smallness of things." "If the tree with a glorious view needs our assistance," Owl said, rummaging around in his closet to find a bucket, "and if that tree also happens to be our bear's favorite tree, well, therefore, and also heretofore, and possibly subsequent to that, I would be honored to do whatever I can do to help." Pooh, Rabbit, and Owl went together to Piglet's house. Piglet was in the middle of something when they arrived. However, when he heard about the tree, he dropped everything, which resulted in a great deal of flour settling in places that really wasn't meant to be. Oh dear, look at all the flour. "I'll worry about this mess later," Piglet said, starting to pull an empty pitcher from the shelf. "That tree is where I collect the biggest and most delicious acorns every year," Piglet said. "It has given me so much. The least I can do is try to give something back." Rabbit looked thoughtful. "That tree has given me a lot, too. It's given me bendy wings to make baskets for my vegetables in the spring and nice dried twigs to make fires in the winter. You want to bring all those pitchers, Piglet? We can help you carry them." So Rabbit carried two of Piglet's pitchers, and Pooh offered to carry Rabbit's watering can, and the friends were soon on their way. They hadn't gone very far when there was a sudden commotion. It all seemed to start with Tigger, who bounded into Rabbit, who bumped into Pooh, who tripped Piglet, who landed in Owl's bucket. Luckily, when they all sorted themselves out, nothing and no one was broken. "Why are you hurling pitchers all around, Long Ears?" Tigger asked. Rabbit made a particular growling sound. Piglet explained that they were on their way to water the tree with the best acorns and bendiest branches. "Hoo-hoo-hoo! I'll come too," Tigger said. "Helping is what Tiggers do." Kanga was outside hanging laundry when her friends came by to ask for help. Kanga didn't hesitate for a moment. "Come, Roo, Kanga called. "We have something important to do." "What?" Roo asked excitedly. "What are we going to do?" "You hold one handle of the laundry tub and I'll hold the other," Kanga said. "I'll explain on the way." "Oh, look!" Roo shouted a short while later. "There's my swinging tree. That's where I learned to swing." "I used to bring him to this tree when he was just a wee Roo," Kanga said. "The branches are so sturdy and strong. I trusted this tree, this good, reliable tree, to protect my wild boy, and it always did." "Now we have the opportunity to return the favor," Kanga said, hugging a slightly embarrassed Roo. "So this is the tree everybody's been talking about?" Tigger asked. "Why didn't anybody say so?" "I happen to know all about this tree," Tigger said. "For example, I know that it has the crunchiest leaves in the whole 100-acre wood." "How do you know that?" Roo asked. "Because last fall I tried them all," Tigger said. "First, I jumped in the leaf piles near Rabbit's garden." "That was you?" Rabbit sputtered. "I spent days raking those leaves." "Thanks, Long Ears," said Tigger, "for going through all that trouble just for me. But after jumping in all the leaves from all the trees in the 100-acre wood, I can say with authority, well, anyway, I can say for sure that the leaves from this tree were the crunchiest leaves of all." Just then, Eeyore arrived. Roo gasped. Pooh gulped. "Eeyore," Piglet said breathlessly, did you know, are you aware that you have a tree growing out of your back?" Pooh said. Eeyore looked over his shoulder. "It's not growing there. I'm just giving it a ride." "I thought I would plant it here," Eeyore said, pointing to a sunny spot, "next to the sweet-smelling blossom tree. Every spring this tree is covered with blossoms. It always makes me feel, well, nearly cheerful. When I saw that the tree looked sad, I wanted to cheer it up, so I brought a little tree to keep it company." "Everyone feels better when they have a little company," Pooh said. Then Eeyore's friends, all of them together, helped him plant the little tree. "Now," Rabbit said firmly, dusting off his hands, "it's time to water. Everyone," he called, "fill your buckets and pitchers and etceteras in the stream and carry them to the tree." Tigger borrowed one of Piglet's pitchers, filled it to the brim, and spilled all of it when he took his first bounce. Pooh tripped on a tree root and soaked himself from head to foot. And Roo fell into the stream trying to pull a full laundry tub into the bank. "I have an idea," Kanga said as she fished Roo out of the stream. "Why don't we all do what we do best? Eeyore's quite strong, so he can pull the full containers out of the stream," she suggested. Eeyore squared his shoulders proudly. "The rest of us can form a line from the stream to the trees and pass the water from one to the other," Kanga said. "Tigger and Roo can be last. When they get the water, they can bounce to spread it around under the trees." So, on that day, every hot, dry day from then on, the friends all came together and watered the very special tree, which was an easier name to remember than Pooh's favorite, Roo's swinging Eeyore sweet smelling, Owl's glory viewing, Piglet's best haycorning, and Rabbit's bendiest branches, and Tigger's crunchiest leaves tree. The very special tree soon began to look green and splendid again. The friends also watered the little keep you company tree, which grew taller and stronger every day. You see the two trees together? Then, one day, something changed, and that something was the weather. The sky turned from blue to gray, and the wind began to blow. "You're splashing us again, Tigger," Rabbit complained. "I think the sky is splashing us," Pooh said, looking up just in time for a big round raindrop to land on his nose. The friends ran to the very special tree. They stood together under the tree's big sheltering branches, and they cheered for the rain and the trees and each other. The next sunny afternoon, when Pooh came to sit in the shade of his favorite tree, he found Roo resting under the keep you company tree. "Someday this tree will be big enough for all of us to sit under," Roo said. "But for now, it's just the right size for me." Roo stayed for a while and talked to Pooh about this and that, and then he hopped off to find something more lively to do. Pooh settled back against his favorite tree. Above him in the branches, birds snuggled in their nests. Shy little animals peeked out from the safety of knotholes in the sturdy trunk. Bees buzzed around their business in a well-hidden hive. Winnie the Pooh started to snore softly. All was well in the 100-acre wood. Trees. Next time you're near a very special tree, take a moment to think about generosity. Trees give us food, shelter, shade, and a view. Since trees take care of us, we should take care of them too. Thank you, trees, for cooling shade and lemons to make lemonade, for pretty buds and dappled light and autumn leaves that drift in flight, for sturdy limbs where we can play or sit and dream the day away. Well, that was a great story, all about working together, taking care of trees, taking care of each other. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I hope you come back soon to Granny's Place. Have a wonderful day or night. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.